Most people look at a winter garden and see a dormant, lifeless space. They see skeletons of trees and barren soil. To the untrained eye, this is the season of rest. But to the master gardener, winter is the most critical operational phase of the entire year. This is the period of system calibration. In the philosophy of self-sufficiency, we must stop thinking about plants as decorations and start seeing them as biological processors. A tree is essentially a solar-powered factory that converts sunlight, water, and soil minerals into glucose and fruit. However, like any factory, if the assembly lines are cluttered and the energy is being diverted to unproductive departments, the final output will be poor. Tripling your harvest isn't about adding more fertilizer in the spring. It's about removing the leaks in the system during the winter. When a tree drops its leaves, its operating system, the branch structure, becomes visible. You can see exactly where the energy will flow when the sap rises. Pruning is the act of programming that flow. We are not just cutting branches. We are directing the life force of the plant into the most profitable channels. The efficiency gap in most gardens exists because we allow the plant to dictate the terms. A plant's natural goal is simply to survive and reproduce by any means, often creating a messy, tangled thicket. Our goal as gardeners is productivity. To bridge this gap, we must intervene while the machine is powered down for the winter. This is when the plant is least stressed, and when our surgical strikes can have the greatest impact on the upcoming season's ROI. The logic of sap flow and energy distribution. To master the machine, you must understand its fuel, the sap. During the winter, the sap retreats into the roots and the heart of the trunk. It is a concentrated reservoir of potential energy, a biological battery waiting for the first sign of warmth to discharge. When spring arrives, this energy surges upward like water through a pressurized pipe. In an unpruned tree, that pressure is distributed among thousands of tiny, weak buds. The result is a chaotic bush of thin twigs and small, sour fruit. The tree is exhausted because it is trying to maintain too much wood mass and not enough fruit mass. By pruning in the deep winter, typically January or February, we are essentially capping the unproductive pipes. When you remove a non-fruiting branch or a water sucker, the energy that was destined for that branch doesn't disappear. It is rerouted. It finds the next available exit point, the fruiting spurs you've chosen to keep. This is why a pruned tree produces larger, sweeter fruit. You haven't changed the total energy the tree has. You have simply increased the energy density per fruit. Think of it like a home heating system. If you try to heat 20 rooms, every room stays chilly. If you close the vents to 15 rooms, the remaining 5 rooms become incredibly warm. In the garden machine, we are closing the vents to the leaf rooms so we can overheat the fruit rooms. This is the fundamental math of a high-output garden. Furthermore, winter pruning triggers a hormonal response. When you cut the tip of a branch, the apical bud, you remove the hormones that suppress lower buds. This wakes up the lower parts of the tree, creating a bushier, more productive structure closer to the ground where you can actually reach it. The 4-step operational protocol. To transform your garden into a production machine, we follow a strict maintenance protocol. We don't cut randomly. We follow the logic of the 3D rule and the open center principle. Step 1. Clearing the faulty components, the 3Ds. Every machine needs clean parts to run. We start by removing the dead, damaged, and diseased wood. Dead wood is a structural hazard and a waste of space. Damaged wood, from wind or frost, is a drain on resources as the tree tries to heal a wound that can't be saved. Diseased wood is a virus in the system. Cankers, blights, and fungal infections often overwinter in the bark. By removing these in winter, you ensure that the startup in spring is clean. Always remember to dip your shears in alcohol between cuts of diseased wood to prevent spreading the virus. Step 2. The light and air intake, the open vase. Photosynthesis is the fuel. If the center of your tree is a tangled mess of branches, the sun cannot reach the interior. This creates a dead zone where fruit cannot grow and moisture stays trapped. leading to rot. We prune to create an open vase shape. By removing branches that grow toward the center, we allow sunlight to hit the main trunk and air to circulate. Airflow is your natural pesticide. It dries out moisture that would otherwise host fungal spores. Step 3. Eliminating competition, the crossed branches. In a high-efficiency system, parts shouldn't rub against each other. When two branches cross, they create friction wounds. These wounds are open doors for bacteria. We identify the weaker of the two and remove it entirely. We choose the branch with the best angle, ideally 45 to 60 degrees from the trunk, as this provides the strongest structural support for heavy fruit loads. Step 4. Height calibration, the header cut. A production machine must be accessible. If your fruit is 15 feet in the air, it is useless. By heading back the top of the tree, you force the growth outward and downward. This keeps the harvest at eye level. This is human-centric design applied to nature. Part 4. Technical subsystems: apples, berries, and vines. Not every component of the garden machine is the same. To reach peak productivity, we must calibrate our pruning for specific models of plants. The pome fruits, apples and pears. These trees produce on spurs, small, stubby twigs that grow slowly and fruiting for years. When pruning apples, your goal is to identify these spurs and protect them. Remove the long, whip-like vertical shoots, water sprouts, that appear overnight. These are energy thieves. They take 90% of the nutrients but give 0% of the fruit. By cutting them back to the base, you send a signal to the tree to invest in the fruiting spurs instead. The stone fruits, peaches and plums. Peaches are different. They fruit on 1-year-old wood. If you don't prune a peach tree heavily in winter, the fruiting wood will move further and further away from the trunk every year, eventually causing the branches to snap under their own weight. We prune peaches to ensure there is always new, red-colored wood being produced near the main structure. You should aim to remove about 40 to 50% of the tree every winter to keep the machine young and vigorous. The berry bush, blueberries and raspberries. For berries, pruning is about renewal. A raspberry cane that fruited last year is now a dead battery. It will never fruit again. If you leave it, it just blocks the sun for the new canes. In winter, we cut these old gray, woody canes to the ground. This clears the way for the vibrant green new batteries to charge up for the summer. For blueberries, we remove the oldest, thickest stems to encourage the plant to send up new shoots from the base, keeping the production cycle fresh. The grapevine's grapes are perhaps the most dramatic example of the 3 times productivity rule. If left unpruned, a grapevine will grow 30 feet in a season but produce small, seedy bunches. We use the 4-cane niffin, or spur pruning system. We remove up to 90% of the previous year's growth. It feels like a massacre, but it is actually a liberation. By leaving only a few buds of potential, we ensure that the vine's massive root system pumps all its sugar into just a few dozen bunches, resulting in world-class fruit. Precision programming, the art of the bud. The most technical part of our programming happens at the microscopic level, the bud. The way you make a single cut dictates the direction of growth for the next 3 years. This is where the gardener becomes a surgeon. We always look for an outward-facing bud. If you cut above a bud that faces the center of the tree, the new branch will grow inward, recreating the clutter you just cleared. If you cut above a bud facing outward, you are expanding the machine's reach into productive, sunny space. The angle, a 45-degree slant, is mandatory. It's a simple drainage system. If the cut is flat, water sits on the wound, causing rot. If the slant is too steep, it creates a large surface area that takes too long to heal, drying out the bud. The distance. Cutting too close kills the bud. Cutting too far leaves a stub. A stub has no living tissue to pull sap to it, so it rots and becomes a highway for termites and fungi. The perfect cut is a 1/4 inch above the bud. This is the Goldilocks zone for rapid healing. Closing the loop. Waste as raw material. In a truly efficient machine, There is no such thing as waste. The branches you remove are not trash. They are high-carbon raw materials that have been meticulously pulled from the atmosphere and the soil. To throw them away is to leak wealth from your property. The scaffold. Larger straight branches from fruit trees or oaks should be saved. They are stronger and more beautiful than store-bought plastic stakes. Use them for your climbing beans or to create pea brush. The soil battery. Small twigs should be chipped. This is brown gold. When you spread these chips back under the tree, you are practicing holistic recycling. The tree spent energy creating that lignin. By returning it to the soil, you feed the fungal networks, mycorrhizae, that in turn feed the tree. It's a feedback loop that increases fertility without a single bag of store-bought fertilizer. The biochar potential. If you have a large amount of brush, consider a top-lit updraft fire to create biochar. This carbon sponge can be buried in your vegetable beds to hold moisture and nutrients for hundreds of years. You are literally turning your winter chores into a permanent soil upgrade. Conclusion: the master programmer. Transforming your garden into a food production machine is not about brute force. It is about the quiet, calculated work done in the cold of winter. It is about understanding that in the world of biology, subtraction is addition. Every branch you cut is a decision to prioritize quality over quantity. It is a decision to be a designer, not just a spectator. The 20 minutes you spend with a pair of shears in January will save you 20 hours of pest control and 20 pounds of wasted fruit in August. When spring arrives, you will see the ROI. Instead of a weak, pale flush of leaves, you will see a powerful, vibrant explosion of growth. Because the root system now has fewer mouths to feed, every leaf will be greener, every blossom will be stronger, and the tree will be much more resilient to drought. By midsummer, the machine will be in full production. Your fruit will be larger because the sap was never wasted. Your harvest will be easier because you designed the tree's architecture. Go out into your garden today. Look past the brown stems and the cold air. See the structural potential. See the pipes of the sap. And start programming your machine for the most abundant year you've ever had. The harvest doesn't start in the spring. It starts with the first cut you make today.